I'm going to talk about a book that I went through that I found particularly inspiring. And even though I have the hardcover book, it's one that I got as a gift for my partner, but I went through the audiobook through the library app. It's a memoir by Viola Davis, who's the lead actress on How to Get Away with Murder. But she's had this a phenomenal career. And one of the reasons that I wanted to talk about this is that I believe that when we look at people's life stories and their version of their story, I think there's all these lessons that are inside it. These lessons that can guide us in terms of how to live, how to make choices, and fundamentally how to win at life in general. Because these are people that have really excelled and succeeded in all these areas and all these domains. The book that I've picked for today is by Viola Davis. It's called Finding Me. And Viola Davis is an actor who's won numerous awards. And also she was on How to Get Away with Murder. And I remember one of the most powerful scenes for me was in one of the earlier episodes where you actually just see her washing her face, and she does it without the hair accessories, and you just see her authentic and raw. And there was a chapter in here where she had a paragraph where she talked about that scene and how it was important to her. The reason that I'm sharing this is because I believe in everyone's story and everyone's life of people that are around, that have functioned, that have excelled. There's truth in it, and there's truth in terms of lessons about how we can live, how we can excel, and how we can succeed. And I thought I would go through some of these chapters that I particularly found inspiring. And I hope it inspires you to go through this book yourself. The first quote that she has in the book is from someone named Anton Chekhov, and I have to review who that is. I'm not sure who he is. I think human beings must have faith or must look for faith. Otherwise, our life is empty. To live and not to know why the cranes fly, why children are born, why there are stars in the sky. You must know why you are alive, or else everything is nonsense, just blowing in the wind. She starts her story off with a childhood memory of how and when she was really, really vulnerable and who she was running away from. And she was inspired by that through a conversation with Will Smith where he asked her, he's like, no, who are you? And Will Smith said, every time I'm in crisis, every time I'm in stress, I'm turned into that 16-year-old that just couldn't convince this girl that he was good enough, that he could be that person. And then they asked, who she was. And it was such a powerful story that she had. She had a story when she was quite young. I don't know if she was 6 or 8. And it was a story where she was running away from these bullies in a small town, and they were beating on her. And she remembers there was one Hispanic person there. And she said, like, why are you beating on me? Because I'm black. You're black too. And it was just such a powerful statement. With this book, the things that stand out for me is that she's been through so much trauma that I couldn't ever imagine. Trauma of not having clean clothes, trauma having rats all around the home, trauma of being sent home from school for her clothes and her smelling like urine, trauma for being beaten at different points, trauma for sexually inappropriate behavior by elders, trauma for food insecurity and not having people there. And yet somehow she thrived. And I'm not sure what it was about her, but it just seems like there was a decision that she made that she was not going to become that, whatever that was. She was not going to become horrible. She was not going to become a failure. She was not going to suffer. She was not going to succumb. And there was this constant drive to be the best in terms of acting and shows and productions and all of those kinds of things. It was also fascinating because her youngest sister wasn't able to escape. Her younger sister wasn't able to escape how the trauma had stayed with her. And while Viola is still dealing with so much trauma from the past, she's doing so in the context of a very successful career. She's probably in the top 0.00001 or 0.00001% of actors in the world in terms of what her accomplishments are. And her sister is still struggling with addiction and abuse. And I wonder, what is it that allows people to become resilient and stay resilient? What makes them different from people where the trauma and the abuse just stay with them? I wonder for her if it's a sense of community, because I can't remember whether she was 6 or 9 or 10 years older than her youngest sister. But for her, there was 3-4 siblings that were very close in age, and they went through the trauma together and they supported each other through it, where her youngest sister was somewhat isolated. I wonder, what was it that allowed her to keep fighting through all of these challenges that had come up, and what allowed her to thrive in a world that wasn't designed for her to be successful. There were mentors that came along the way, and there were a lot of other things as well. I know I wasn't able to do this book justice, but I just love memoirs so much. I find memoirs are so powerful for me because they tell someone's story from their viewpoint. And there's so many lessons that are hidden in these stories. And I know after this story, I went to my wife and I was like, I would love to just learn more about you. There's something I find very inspiring by these strong, successful women that overcome despite the world not being designed for them to succeed. And I hope that